Hello fellow coffee botherers, in this video I'm going to be changing your life. If you mainly drink instant coffee, or if you mainly drink instant coffee in one particular setting, for example when you're at work. If you're one of my subscribers, then this probably isn't for you, but you probably know several people who this applies to. So please do me a favour and do them an even bigger favour and share this video with anyone you know who drinks instant or pod coffee. Hands up if you think coffee just tastes like coffee. You'll notice my hand isn't up. It would have been up about 20 years ago, though. In fact, I wouldn't have even understood the question. What do you mean? Of course coffee just tastes like coffee. Coffee is just coffee. Well, no, that's completely wrong, and I'll prove it to you. The fact is, it's a particular type of coffee that all tastes like that particular type of coffee. The type of coffee we're talking about is commodity coffee. This is coffee traded as a commodity and roasted in massive volumes, huge warehouses full. And yes, this coffee all ends up tasting very similar. But this is just one kind of coffee. The kind of coffee most Brits aged 30 plus have grown up with, myself included. I drank this kind of coffee until about 10 years ago. Do I have to?
Yes.
Just pretend.
No.
About 20 years ago, when I started getting into drinking freshly brewed coffee in my mid-20s, yes, I really am that old, it was still this kind of coffee, just freshly brewed, not instant. I mean, not great, but much stronger, much more like coffee. So just coffee is mainstream coffee, commodity coffee. The fact that it's instant really isn't all that important. It's a kind of coffee used, and nearly all instant coffee is this same kind of coffee. Instant coffee as a process in and of itself doesn't make it poor quality at all. It's created by brewing coffee into a concentrate and then freeze drying or spray drying. So it's not the fact that it's dried, it's a kind of beans that are used. This kind of coffee, regardless of the brand, tends to taste very similar, and it's usually on the bitter side, which is why a lot of people add milk, sugar and other stuff.
Cheers!
If you wanted to experience for yourself what coffee can taste like, I'd recommend getting one of these, an Aeropress. There are various other ways to brew, but Aeropress is one of the easiest, quickest and least messy. Unless you make an aero mess, which is more common when doing the inverted technique, which I'll describe shortly. By the way, it doesn't matter which you get, the clear, the colour, the Go or the XL if you're making bigger brews. And you'll need freshly roasted coffee beans. Now, I wonder where you could get freshly roasted coffee beans. Is there a website that if you're in the UK you could just go to now, like, I don't know, seaworks.co.uk, and choose from 19 different coffees that are roasted usually on the day of dispatch, who offer free delivery when you spend over £10, and who give you 25% off your first order when you use the discount code YT25? Ah yes, there is, that's my coffee. What a coincidence. Joking apart, just get some freshly roasted coffee, pre-ground for Aeropress. As long as the coffee has a roasted on date on the bag, that's fine. Ideally, get 2, 3 or 4 different coffees so you can taste them side by side and experience just how different coffees can taste. Ask at a coffee shop where you buy your beans from to grind for you, as most will. In the long term, I absolutely recommend grinding your own. You don't have to drop hundreds on a grinder. In fact, you can get a Hario Mini Mill hand grinder and an Aeropress as a bundle deal for about £70. See the link in the description. And here's how to brew it. Filter in the filter cap. Rinse. Filter cap on the chamber. Chamber on the cup. 1 scoop of coffee. Fill about half full with hot water, not half empty. I'm an optimist. Stir. Carefully insert the plunger, wait for about 20 to 30 seconds, then gently plunge. By gently, I mean very gently. The harder you push, the more resistance you'll create, so it'll get harder the harder you try. Because I've pulled it up, see it's not dripping.
Yeah.
Because I made a bit of a vacuum. Done. To clean, do this. If you want an espresso style coffee, just drink it as is. If you want an Americano, just add some hot water. If you want a milky, cappuccino, etc., just heat some milk, get a cheap cafetiere with a removable jug, heat the milk in the microwave or however you like, froth it and pour it in. That actually looks really good. If you get a few different bags of coffee from different origins, different processing methods and so on, brew a few and taste them side by side, you'll start to realise just how much variation there actually is in coffee. Different techniques. Aeropress is an amazingly flexible brewer. This method I've just shown you is the original method that Alan Adler, the inventor of Aeropress, intended for it to be used. The standard upright method. It's the quickest and easiest method. You'll find slight variations on the standard method, and I'd recommend experimenting until you find the method that works best for you. For example, for Americano, some people will fill the chamber up to the number 4 and then not dilute it after. Just try it and see which you prefer. There's also the aforementioned inverted method, which baristas discovered they could use to give them more control over the brew. So when you're using the standard method, obviously some of it's dripping through, it starts to brew straight away, you don't have the same control. Initially, I think a lot of it comes from the fact that it's a bit more, people are a bit more familiar with that kind of brewing, being able to let it steep and bloom and stuff like that, like they would with pour over. If you put the cup on top and plunge it that way, you're an idiot. Strong. Definitely need to dilute that. Just right. I do think the inverted technique is the best for specialty coffee brewing, but it's a bit of a different process that would usually involve using a bigger dose ground more coarse and with a longer bloom and steep time. So personally, I think most people will find the regular technique the best place to start, but once you've mastered that, I'd recommend giving the inverted method a try, and I'll put a few videos in the description covering the inverted method. Couple of things to be aware of. Caffeine content. Caffeine content in instant coffee, depending on how much you use in each cup, of course, is quite low in comparison to freshly brewed coffee. So just watch it if you're having the same number of coffees freshly brewed as you were previously drinking, as you'll probably be significantly increasing your caffeine intake. Having said that, you might want to try some high quality freshly roasted decafs. You may be surprised and you might find you end up switching to decaf for your second or third coffee, for example. If you want to taste an amazing decaf, by the way, try the Seaworks Milk Chocolate and Caramel Decaf Honduras. Make one for someone and see if they believe it's decaf. Grind fresh. Using freshly roasted and freshly ground pre-ground is fine to get started, but the biggest upgrade in coffee quality and overall experience comes from grinding fresh. If you're sticking with manual brew methods, you don't need a pricey grinder. You can use a manual grinder, as I mentioned earlier, or something like the Wilfer Svart, for example, that you can get for about £70 or £80. That'll do the job fine, as will the similarly priced Gazia MD15 or Baratza Encore. Filters. The Aeropress comes with hundreds of filters, and you can reuse them, by the way. You don't have to use a fresh one every time, and it'll make little or no difference to the taste. Just rinse the filter, put it back in the cap, and rinse it again before the next use. If you want something a bit closer to cafetiere or French press, rather than the cleaner mouthfeel you get from paper filters, try a reusable stainless steel filter. They come in various different mesh sizes, and they can make a big difference to the texture of the coffee by how much of the oils they allow through. Other brewing methods. I think most people who are moving away from instant will find Aeropress a great place to start. There are various other methods though, of course, various different pour-over methods, other hybrid immersion and filter methods, mocha pot, filter machine, and of course espresso. If you want to see more content on manual brew methods, comment below and we'll do a video covering the most common methods and best workflows. If you're sold on the idea of fresh brewing and you want to get started with a different method, then by all means, but a lot of these methods are more expensive and involve a bigger learning curve. Aeropress is a method I think most people will find the easiest to get started with.
On the video Gazia MD15 grinder review and shimming guide, ODC commented, "Can't you insert a washer under the grinder like in the Grief CM702?
Thanks for the question, ODC. It comes with shims in the box, which is basically the same as a washer. Cheers. Thank you very much for watching, and if you think coffee is, you enjoyed this video, we've got tons of content about how to make better coffee at home to take you from beginner to home barista. We've got reviews and how-tos on the most popular machines. If you like the sound of that, click on my face to subscribe. Tatty Bye.